Welcome back. Today, what I'm going to be talking to you is about a topic that is, of course, has been extremely popular these days now over the last 2 years, which is COVID. But you know that this program has been oriented just to just provide you some guidance in regards to the role of glutathione. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some information with you in regards to this coronavirus. So everyone knows that it's been extremely difficult for public health around the world to deal with this particular virus. It's been described since 2019 as COVID-19, started in Wuhan, and is one of these novel coronavirus. SARS is a good example of a different coronavirus that affected the world just a few years back. And the one that we have learned a lot about just consequences or just post-SARS effect, post-COVID effects. But something that we realize is that it has been extremely important and impactful around the globe. This is probably just one of these screens that you have seen already. This is from Johns Hopkins that shows that by October the 30th, about a year ago, we had about 45 million cases. And this actually didn't stay there. If you look at March, now 121 million cases. And now, of course, most recent data, if we just look back at October, about almost 240 million cases. So of course, this has evolved into just becoming a very difficult issue. So one of the things that you can actually just ask yourself is in regards to this specific program is what is the importance of glutathione in the management of the coronavirus? So something specifically to talk about, which is something that I mentioned before, it's funny enough that this glutathione, this antioxidant, has been around for quite some time, 1885, and sometimes general population, even physicians, don't hear too much about it. One of the reasons, of course, is that this is an intracellular antioxidant that you typically don't take orally to supplement. And that's the reason why you don't hear too much about it. So that's important. So let's learn about the importance of the glutathione just for coronavirus. So one of the things is that is a peptide that is formed by 3 amino acids, or you have precursors: glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. Once they get into the cell, of course, you can get glutathione levels inside the cell being raised. Any source in the literature or outside, if you Google glutathione, you will find that it's been defined as the guardian of the cell. And one of the key aspects of glutathione, or just learning about glutathione, is that the antioxidant, is the master antioxidant inside every single cell. So it doesn't discriminate. So when you wonder what could cause or what would be the benefit of raising glutathione levels inside the cell or any cell, is actually any cell. You see that it's anti-inflammatory cell in each cell, detoxifies every single cell. And something else that is very important is a major protector of the immune cell and the immune system. And completely opposite to different antioxidants is that this recycles itself. And out of the 4,000 antioxidants that you have probably in the literature that if you take vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, any beta carotene or any carotenes, you will learn that without the glutathione, these antioxidants will not work as efficiently as if they didn't have glutathione. You can read about glutathione. You'll be surprised about the many benefits, just again, only from increasing energy to cellular repair, as a neuroprotector, the importance of this in diabetes, fibromyalgia, just a number of diseases. But of course, something that is relevant to this presentation, which is very short, is strengthening the immune system. You probably recognize out of many diseases that you have been mentioned by family, relatives, or so forth, or friends, that you may recognize one of these disease processes. And ultimately, when you go down to look at the science, it's been shown in the literature, very clear in the scientific evidence, that there are low levels of glutathione. So no wonder if you get to this point, you can think of, well, I know someone who has cancer, lupus, viral infections, but of course, this is more relevant for coronavirus. And it seems to me that now I have raised the question, if you know that all of these processes have been related to low glutathione levels, what would you do to increase the glutathione? In regards to the glutathione and COVID-19, there's more evidence. So this is, again, this is a search. I highly recommend, even if you are not a physician or scientist, to look under pubmed.gov, where you can find the impact of publications around a topic. While you can find almost 165,000 scientific papers on glutathione, that clearly shows how important it is. There's a limited number, but still growing evidence that there's a relationship between glutathione and how you treat COVID. In particular, I'm going to talk about just briefly about this paper, endogenous deficiency of glutathione as the most likely cause of serious manifestations and death in COVID-19 patients. So as you progress into the search, and now you have more papers compared to what happened even 6 months ago. And one of them, and this is again just a sample of one of them, I'm going to be discussing this one from Polenikov that was published back in May of 2020. But this is just a sample of some of the papers that exist out there. This is actually very intriguing, and a very intriguing paper that has been validated by research, or just data has come from just different parts of the world about the importance of glutathione in COVID-19 patients. And without complicating your life with just a very complex diagram, I think the key here is to look at the middle, the center of this slide that shows glutathione deficiency. So if once you get infected, there's a process of viral replication. That's what allows, again, the virus to be spread, just widespread in the body, and just to cause this inflammatory process that you know, and to cause the symptoms. What is being shown, of course, is that as you increase your glutathione deficiency, or you lack more glutathione, the viral replication will be faster, to the point where you have a humongous amount of viral load, and then it will induce something that is called ARDS, which stands for acute respiratory distress syndrome, and of course, death. So whatever you get from the slide is clear that the more you lack glutathione, the more chances for you, of you having more oxidative stress, damage to the lung, ARDS, and death. To complicate matters, it's been shown very clearly that once you have glutathione deficiency, and on top of this, you are over age of 65, you have low glutathione intake or the precursors. Once you have chronic diseases like obesity, cardiovascular disease, if you're a male, and then if you smoke, you increase your chances of having low levels of glutathione. Again, a very complex slide, very complicated table, or just busy slide, only to show that there's a significant difference when you compare a mild process, COVID, with severe. And if you look at the right of the table, you're going to see that when you, as a researcher, measure GSH, which is glutathione levels, and also reactive oxygen species or oxidative stress, you're going to see that compared to mild disease, maybe where the GSH is 0.7, look at the numbers that you see for severe processes, 0.079. There's a significant increase in the free radicals compared to mild disease. So what is the take-home message from here? Is that if you were to measure glutathione levels in mild disease, there's a good chance that you find better levels compared to those who suffer from severe disease. So it just raises the question, will you be willing to consider that raising glutathione in patients with COVID will improve outcomes? I think this is very clear based on this research. Also, this is a study, very interesting study in Nigeria that got published in 2021 that clearly shows that antioxidant enzymes are just increased when you actually, the antioxidant enzymes like GSH will be actually decreased in comparison to controls who are not sick. And if you were to measure oxidative stress markers, this is actually what the glutathione counteracts, which is oxidative stress. You will find that compared to patients with COVID, control patients, that means that individuals who do not have COVID will have a much lower marker levels of oxidative stress. So I guess the question is, so how will you raise glutathione? Well, something to keep in mind is that the glutathione is a tripeptide. So that means that it is composed of glycine, glutamic acid, and cysteine. But what you have to keep in mind is that the cysteine, unless you are breastfed, you lack this in your diet. And not every single cysteine out there is made the same way. It has to be consolidated. It has to be bonded so it doesn't get destroyed by the gastric acid, as, by the way, glutathione does. So you got to keep in mind. And something that is very key is that N-acetylcysteine, that we know as a mucolytic, as Mucomyst, has been shown to be very useful as a coadjuvant for the treatment of COVID. And the reason for that is because N-acetylcysteine has been shown to be an antioxidant. And we've known this for like forever. In fact, if you get an overdose of paracetamol or acetaminophen, it's hepatotoxic. So it just is very toxic to the liver, and you can treat these patients with N-acetylcysteine. So there's nothing new. But what is being new to the field of COVID is the very potent antioxidant function of the N-acetylcysteine. Even though it's a non-essential amino acid, compared to the other glycine and glutamate, is already by itself an antioxidant. And very complicated slide to show that when you have the presence, let me just back up, when you have the presence of inflammation, the whole idea with the NAC is to block every single process that deals with oxidative stress. And again, this has been shown like just for the longest time. So it is very important that you look at the PDR. So PDR is the prescriber's digital reference. We used to know just physician's desk reference. So the PDR.net will provide you with information about any pharmaceutical product. And this is where you find information about the acetylcysteine. And you will find that there's an antidote, but also a systemic mucolytic. In respiratory therapy, we teach a lot about NAC in the form of Mucomyst, just regarding nebulized formulations. But you will see that as any other chemical product is associated with just a bunch of contraindications and precautions. That's why it is important to look at natural nutraceuticals like this one. And this is not an N-acetylcysteine, but it's a consolidated cysteine that is being shown again to raise glutathione in a very natural manner, and it is not a pharmaceutical product. So this is a natural product. So my invitation today, just simply consider the importance of glutathione, as we are going to discover in future programs. In this particular case, raising glutathione levels is very critical, not only to protect the immune system, because glutathione is food for the immune system, but also because the science has been showing that not only cysteine, but raising glutathione may be playing a critical role in the management of patients with COVID. So until next time, just please subscribe. Just like, if you like, just click on like, and just looking forward to seeing you in the next program. Until then.